Jake has been telling this story to his son the whole time. Jake named his son Mac, short for McClane. John McClane, the guy from Die Hard. This man quoted Die Hard in interrogations. Mid-chase, during active crime scenes. It wasn't just a favorite movie, it was how Jake saw himself. The hero the story is built around. And then in the finale, he quit. Walked away from the job he loved his whole life to raise that boy. To be the father he never had growing up. So here's what nobody asks. What does a retired detective do with all that time at home? He tells stories. That's the theory. 8 seasons, all of it. Is Jake retelling his career to Mac? His version. Notice how Jake went to prison, witness protection, and undercover, and somehow always came back? Real life doesn't work that clean. But a dad editing the story for his kid? That's exactly how it works. Every case closed. Every friendship survived. Everyone's safe. That's not a TV show. That's a bedtime story. Holt's Halloween Heist is a yearly stress test. Nobody made Holt run these heists. There is no rule, no department policy, no HR memo requiring a captain to emotionally destroy his squad every October. He chose this every single year, and he takes it further than any normal person would. After losing the very first heist, he started planning the next one that same night. 9 months of preparation, surveillance, misdirection, mind tactics borrowed from Hungarian fencing strategy for a game. Except here is what the game actually measures. Who breaks under pressure? Who reads people correctly? Who leads when everything falls apart? Who can lie to someone they trust and not flinch? Those are not party skills. Those are the exact skills a commanding officer needs to know his team has. Holt never announces it as training. He never has to. The results come back every year without him saying a word. A precinct full of detectives, and not one of them ever questioned why their captain cares this much about winning a Halloween bet. That is either very funny or very deliberate. Pimento was already broken before he went undercover. The show wants you to believe 12 years with a mob boss destroyed Adrian Pimento. That's the easy answer. And it might be wrong. A forensic psychologist who studied Pimento's behavior on screen noted something the show never directly addresses. He describes torture the way most people describe traffic. He shows no remorse, no confusion, no guilt. Just a man talking about violence like it happened to someone else entirely. 12 years undercover doesn't teach you that. That's not learned. That's already there. The NYPD never once discusses who Pimento was before the mission. His history before going undercover simply doesn't exist in the show. No colleagues who knew him, no files, no stories, just a gap where a person used to be. You don't send your most stable detective into 12 years of organized crime. You send the one who already fits in. Doug Judy was never really a criminal. Doug Judy stole over 200 Pontiacs. Got caught by Jake multiple times. Escaped every single time. Never served a real sentence. That's not a criminal record. That's a cover story. Here's what actually happens every time Doug Judy shows up. He escapes Jake, and then immediately brings down someone far more dangerous. A drug kingpin, an arms dealer, an organized crime network. Every single appearance follows the same pattern. Small fish gets away, bigger fish gets caught. That is not luck. That is a controlled operation. A real career criminal with 200 stolen cars and 0 prison time doesn't exist. Not without someone powerful protecting him from above. And every time Jake gets close, every single time, something bigger conveniently appears that forces Jake to let him go. Jake thinks he's been chasing the Pontiac bandit for years. But what if Doug Judy has been using Jake this whole time, pointing him at targets, getting the job done, then disappearing back into whatever agency gave him the cover in the first place? The best informants are the ones nobody suspects are informants. Wuntch didn't hate Holt. She never did. They were friends once. Young officers, early careers, genuinely close. Then one night, Wuntch showed up at Holt's apartment in a trench coat, trying to tell him something she clearly had felt for a long time. Holt came out to her instead, and that was the end of their friendship. The show frames this as embarrassment turning into a grudge, but watch what Wuntch actually does across 7 seasons. She blocks him, demotes him, humiliates him publicly, and yet she never once destroys him when she easily could have. Her recommendation letter for him was positive. She spent her final days engineering one last battle just so he would have to face her again. She didn't want him gone. She wanted his attention. At his real funeral speech, yet Holt stood in tears and said she was the only person who ever truly challenged him, that no one made him feel more alive. He said it like it was about rivalry, but both of them knew what it actually was. Gina Linetti has never actually believed a word she says about herself. Before the precinct, Gina worked at a sunglasses kiosk in a mall, 4 years. Then Jake got her a job as a civilian admin and said out loud that the role could be performed by an ice cream cone. That is where Gina Linetti started. She had tried college, failed, came back and tried again later, quietly while pretending nothing about it mattered. She built a persona so loud and so relentlessly self-assured that nobody ever stopped to ask whether any of it was real. Charles figured it out first. He told her to her face, "You're just trying to hurt me to distract yourself from your own internal pain." She laughed it off, because that's what the persona does. But watch who Gina attacks most often. Amy, the overachiever with the career Gina never had. Charles, the person closest to Jake, the one person Gina genuinely needs. She doesn't mock people randomly. She targets the exact things she's most afraid of losing or never having. That's not confidence. That's armor. And if you're enjoying these so far, a quick subscribe helps more than you know. All right, let's get darker. Caleb is just Charles Boyle, without the safety net. Put them side by side for a second. Charles Boyle, obsessed with food, talks about it constantly, judges everything through the filter of taste, texture, preparation. His entire personality is built around what he eats and how he eats it. Caleb, obsessed with food, talks about it constantly, judges everything through the filter of taste, texture, preparation. His entire personality is built around what he eats and how he eats it. Charles, awkward, earnest, blindly loyal to Jake, would do anything for him, completely without boundaries about it. Caleb, awkward, earnest, blindly loyal to Jake, would do anything for him, completely without boundaries about it. The only difference between these two men is what they eat and whether anyone stopped them early enough. Or Jake even tries to get them to bond in season 6, calling Caleb a foodie, as if that connection isn't the most disturbing thing in the episode. The show put Charles's dark mirror in the same prison cell as Jake, and then made Jake admit by the end that Caleb was actually his friend. The writers knew exactly what they were doing. Hitchcock and Scully are exactly as stupid as they want you to think. Everyone in the precinct treats Hitchcock and Scully like furniture. Slow, useless, permanently attached to their chairs. That's exactly what they want. In 1986, these two men had nicknames, Flat Top and the Freak. They took down a mob boss in his own penthouse. They had informants, tactics, instincts. When their captain refused to protect a witness, they stole money from evidence and gave it to her anyway, because it was the right thing to do and they were smart enough to know it. Then they found a chicken wing restaurant, and just like that, gone. But here's the part nobody talks about. They still show up every day, still collect a paycheck, still somehow avoid every dangerous assignment, every brutal case, every situation that could end a career or life. You don't accidentally survive 30 years in a New York precinct by being stupid. You survive by making everyone around you believe you're not worth the trouble. Hitchcock and Scully didn't fall apart. They retired in place, on purpose. While everyone watched and laughed, the joke was always on the squad. Gina Linetti was running this precinct from day one. As a child, Gina forged her report cards to make her grades look worse. Her reason, stated clearly on the show, people are harder to control when they know you're smart. She said that out loud, and everyone laughed and moved on. But think about what that means. Gina has been performing incompetence since childhood. She walked into the precinct already knowing exactly what she was doing, while everyone treated her like background noise. She had access to every schedule, every file, every conversation through Holt's office. She steered outcomes constantly, and always made sure someone else got the credit. Here is the detail that proves she never breaks character. Jake and Amy's wedding. Gina arrived with a backup dress. White, lace, Amy's exact size. Like a woman who pretends not to care, had a contingency plan for her best friend's wedding dress. Because the moment people know you care, they know you're paying attention. And Gina cannot afford that. The precinct thinks Holt runs the 9-9. Gina never corrected anyone. That was always the plan. The Vulture never changed. He just got a bigger office. The Vulture spent his entire career doing one thing, waiting until a case was 98% solved, then walking in at the last second and taking everything. Then he became captain of the 69th precinct. And somehow people treated this like a character change. It wasn't. It was an upgrade. As a detective, he could only steal cases from one precinct. As a captain, he runs an entire building. Same move, bigger stage, more people to take credit from. Now, instead of swooping in at the end of someone else's case, he gets to assign the cases in the first place. He decides who does the work, and he decides who gets the recognition. The Vulture didn't go legit. He found a position where his entire skill set, showing up late, taking credit, using the system against the people working hardest inside it, comes with a title and a corner office. He didn't change at all. He just got promoted for it. The badge was never the point. The power was. Something is wrong with the 99th precinct itself. Most precincts deal with crime. The 99th deals with crime, cults, art thieves, a cannibal, a serial killer in the vending machine repair business, annual heists involving the captain's dog, a man who spent 12 years embedded in organized crime, and a Halloween that somehow keeps happening, even when it isn't Halloween. No other precinct in the show operates like this. The 84th doesn't have this problem. The 69th doesn't have this problem. Only the 99. Jake himself noticed it. He spent an entire episode convinced he was personally cursed. But the curse didn't follow Jake when he left. It stayed in the building. Think about what actually gets drawn to this place. The most unstable detective in NYPD history. A civilian admin who forged her own grades as a child. 2 former super cops who abandoned their careers for chicken wings. A captain nobody else would take. Normal precincts don't collect people like this. Something about that building selects for chaos. The 99 doesn't create weird situations. It attracts them. Like a magnet that was switched on the day the precinct opened, and nobody ever figured out how to turn it off. The 99th precinct is a failed Bad Place experiment. Brooklyn Nine-Nine and The Good Place share the same creator. Michael Schur built both worlds, and fans found something that might not be a coincidence at all. An actual set from Brooklyn Nine-Nine was reused in The Good Place as Michael's Bad Place office. Same walls, same layout. Just repurposed for the afterlife. Now look at how the Bad Place works. It creates neighborhoods specifically designed to torture people through manufactured chaos, absurd situations, and relationships that constantly fall apart and repair themselves. The residents never quite break, but they never quite get peace either. Does that sound familiar? The 99 gets canceled and brought back. Its squad gets scattered and reunites. Its captain gets demoted, transferred, reinstated. The same chaos repeats every single season with slightly different packaging. That's not a workplace. That's a loop. The squad genuinely loves each other, which is exactly what made it a failed experiment. You can't torture people who become a real family. So the Bad Place abandoned it, left the building standing, let them keep going. It was too good to be a punishment, so it accidentally became something else. Batman and Spider-Man. Both know the 99 exists. Batman issue 75. The Joker and the Riddler are sitting in a Gotham City police station. The desks behind them are exact replicas of Jake and Amy's. Nameplates scratched out, but the layout, identical. Then Marvel does it too. An actual Spider-Man comic has Peter Parker referencing the show's cancellation. By name. These are 2 competing universes that agree on almost nothing. They share no characters, no storylines, no crossovers. But somehow both of them independently decided the 99 was real enough to put inside their world. Think about what that actually means. Gotham City knows about the 99th precinct. The Marvel Universe knows about the 99th precinct. The only fictional police station that both DC and Marvel quietly agreed existed is this one. The 99th precinct is actually a primary school. Holt is the strict teacher nobody argues with, who secretly loves every single one of his students. Terry is the big kid held back a year who just wants everyone to get along. Amy is the teacher's pet who does extra homework nobody asked for and cries when she gets a B. Jake is the class clown who breaks every rule and somehow never gets expelled. Charles is the weird kid with the very strange lunch who follows Jake everywhere. Rosa is the girl in the back who says nothing and terrifies everyone. Gina is the drama kid who believes the school was built specifically for her. Hitchcock and Scully are just there. Nobody assigned them seats. Nobody knows how long they've been sitting there. Swap the badges for backpacks. Nothing else changes. Roger Peralta may have left more behind than one son. Jake's dad, airline pilot, known cheater. Multiple cities, multiple women. The show confirms he has at least 3 daughters Jake never knew about, all from different airport hubs across America. Now look at New Girl. 2 characters, Kate and Ailey, with absent fathers. No backstory, no explanation. Vague references to travel and distance. Brooklyn Nine-Nine and New Girl share an official crossover universe. That's confirmed, not a theory. Roger Peralta's timeline fits. His routes fit. His history fits. Jake grew up without a father and built a family at the precinct instead. What if somewhere across town, in another show, another apartment, someone else did exactly the same thing for exactly the same reason? Nobody has ever denied it. The math just keeps adding up. Holt is a future version of Charles Boyle who traveled back in time. This sounds insane. Stay with it. Both men have exactly one mission above everything else, making Jake Peralta the best detective he can possibly be. Not the precinct, not the NYPD, Jake specifically. Holt predicted the marshmallow cold open with frightening accuracy. He mastered making eggs, Charles's entire love language, specifically to earn his trust on day 1. He knows exactly how Charles thinks before Charles thinks it. The show never explains any of this. Not once. Boyle loses Jake in the future, travels back, becomes Holt. Spends 8 seasons quietly making sure it never happens again. Insane? Yes. Completely unsupported by the writers? Also yes. Impossible to fully dismiss once you've seen it? Absolutely not. Terry Jeffords was never supposed to still be a detective. Terry is physically the most capable person in the precinct. Combat trained, decorated record, the kind of officer the NYPD builds entire careers around. And yet he spent years sitting at a sergeant's desk in a Brooklyn precinct, eating yogurt and managing people younger and less experienced than him. The theory is this: after his daughters were born, Terry deliberately stopped pushing. He had seen enough of what this job does to people up close, so he parked himself somewhere safe, somewhere he could control the danger, somewhere he could go home every single night. The yogurt is not a quirk. It is a ritual, something small and ordinary he does every day to remind himself he chose ordinary on purpose. The show plays this as background comedy. But think about what Terry actually gave up. He was the most physically gifted officer in that building. He could have gone anywhere, done anything. He chose a desk. He chose safety. He chose his girls over glory. That is not weakness. That is the smartest decision anyone in that building ever made, and nobody gave him credit for it. Her name isn't Rosa Diaz. It never was. Start with what we know. She went to medical school, then business school, then a prestigious ballet academy. She has a pilot's license. She knows combat at a level that doesn't come from police training alone. She has never once let anyone visit her apartment. She moved the one time Amy found it. Her apartment is rented under a shell corporation, and her neighbors know her as Emily Goldfinch. Not just a fake name, a completely different woman. Bubbly, chatty, warm, everything Rosa Diaz is not. That personality didn't take her a moment to find. It came out instantly, fully formed, with a backstory attached and a building full of neighbors who believed every word of it. You do not have a backup identity that detailed unless you have needed a backup identity before. That is not preparation. That is experience. The name Rosa Diaz is real. Her parents confirmed it in season 5. But here is what that actually proves. Absolutely nothing. Witness protection doesn't always mean a fake name. Sometimes it means a real person dropped into a new city, a new job, a new life, with strict instructions to never talk about what came before. The name stays. Everything else gets buried. 3 careers she never finished. A past she never explains. Skills nobody questions because she won't let them get close enough to ask. Multiple apartments across 8 seasons. Every single one different. A shell corporation on the lease. A neighbor who thinks she is someone else entirely. She isn't hiding her name. She's hiding everything that happened before it. Rosa Diaz is real. But Rosa Diaz, the detective, the one who showed up at the 99th precinct one day with no explanation and a file nobody ever fully read, that person is a construction, built carefully, maintained perfectly, for 8 straight seasons. The 9-9 never found out who she was before. Neither did we. That was always the point. That's 18 theories. Some you believed, some you didn't. And at least one is going to change how you watch this show next time. If you made it this far, thank you. Genuinely. Subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss what comes next. And drop a comment right now. Tell us where in the world you're watching from. Every city, every country. Let's see exactly how far the 9-9 reaches. Because if Rosa taught us anything, you never really know who's out there watching.